You're listening to Mixing Mindsets. I'm Andrew Blank.
And I'm Eric Navrosky, and we hope you find some value out of these conversations about lifestyle, music, and more. Welcome back to another episode of Mixing Mindsets. Today we're going to be talking about pursuing passions.
I am a huge advocate for pursuing passions. So I think this will be a fun topic.
Big same.
Yes, I am a firm believer in it doesn't matter, well, obviously, unless, it's like murder or something like that.
I'm passionate about murdering people.
If it's overwhelmingly positive or, even as long as it's not negative, go ahead and chase that. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how many times you're going to fail. I think there's something to be said about progress equaling happiness.
Right.
It doesn't matter as long as you're chasing something.
Yeah.
There's something in that water that works for me.
All right, story time. You ready?
Yes.
So I am a younger lad than I am now.
Okay.
And I'm going through this big crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what do I want to do?
Right.
And I was like, should I go back to school? Should I go do this? Should I go do that? And I've had every option laid out in front of me. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
That was such a big crisis. And I wanted the studio. I had the studio,
right,
actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I want the studio. But you hear so many times people are like, that's unrealistic. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to do something, go to college because
it's almost like anticipated, especially in like a creative field that's just like, that there's, for some reason, I feel like that's a stereotype.
Yeah, it's a stereotype that the creative field can't be.
You can't make money in music.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a real job.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going through this massive crisis, and I'm like, well, I record things and I mix them, and I really like doing that, and other people make their career doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm just a kid, and life is a nightmare. No, I'm kidding. If anyone got that reference. But I was like, I'm just younger, and I just didn't really see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my own fault.
Yeah.
Like, it could totally happen. Obviously, I'm doing it right now. I'm 20 years old, and it's working, and I'm doing it.
Exactly.
And then that is certainly my passion, and I've pursued it.
Mm-hmm.
But and I'm going through this time where I'm like, I don't know. And then finally, something happened where massive life change.
Yes.
Long story short, I broke up with someone that I should not have been with
right.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a complete 180.
Yeah.
Flipped everything in my head, and I was like, wait a minute. I can do this.
Exactly.
And I remember so many times talking with my dad where I was like, just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. What do I do? Do I go to college for this? Like, just tell me because I'll do it.
Right.
Because that is almost the easier way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think pursuing your passions and making a career out of them is harder, much harder.
Absolutely.
I think it's easier when you've got a curriculum.
It's easy to chase it, but there's something to be said about sustaining it.
Yes. And I think that's more so what this episode is about actually creating
something from nothing, if you will.
Yeah, but and a viable career option.
Right.
With your passions.
Yes.
Right. And I truthfully believe that there are so many passions out there that can be capitalized on, that can be careers. And one of the people that always sticks in my head is PewDiePie.
Yes.
And I don't even watch him.
Right.
I don't necessarily like him.
I feel like everyone knows who he is to some extent.
Exactly. But that dude made a career out of playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of was a catalyst to sort of start this.
Right.
But then so many other people made a career off of what so many other people just do for fun.
Right. And now it's just like a common thing.
Yeah.
It just takes one person to flip the whole norm.
And that is so cool to me. And that to me, that's pursuing your passions.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Like, he was like, I just want to play video games.
Right.
He's like, I'm going to make money at playing video games.
It was not as much like, I'm going to start a revolution and just change the way people run their lives.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't the thought, but like that became the reality. And I think there's so much good in like having someone who has a dream.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, and just literally chasing it to complete fruition.
Yeah.
And there's just so much overwhelming positivity to come out of that. And you don't know, you might change the world, or
you might be a PewDiePie.
Yeah, or at least the world that you live in.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool thing.
You change your world.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know, and I've been talking with a family member of mine where they're unhappy in a current situation of career.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I understand. And I know you put a lot into this and it's very difficult at this time. And I'm not telling you to quit, but
Right.
I am telling you that what is your passion? What is that thing that you love? And let's little by little, day by day,
Right.
work on actually making that a reality.
Yeah. And I
And-
think that's right there. That process right there is what I believe to be the hardest part for most people.
Yes.
Because I feel like that you have to always be chasing something to some extent. And get the initial like push to start is the hardest part. But when you're in it, that, like I said before, that progress is overwhelmingly positive for you, and it's going to
Yes.
change your mood. It's going to change everything. It's going to change your
Absolutely.
outlook and everything like that.
Absolutely.
And it's just people need to hear that they need to take that first step and build some type of habit.
You can do it.
Exactly. Like,
Like-
you need that. People need that motivation.
Yeah.
And there's just something about building the habit and realizing as you're moving forward, let's say you get to 10, 20, whatever percent in. Like if you're 25% into something, you need that perspective change of like, okay, I'm not where I want to be yet, but look what I've become.
Yeah.
And I think that people,
Further than I was.
yes, and
Yes.
and that's enough to drive someone to keep going.
For sure. And here's where I in my life found it to be the absolute hardest when it comes to pursuing your passions is not having a roadmap.
Right.
That is, I think, probably harder than just the idea of I want to pursue my passions. I know so many people, and myself included, that when I was younger, I was like, I want to do music, and I'm gonna do music, and like, yeah, it's cool that you're doing music, and it's cool that you're doing something in it, but do you have a roadmap that actually gets you to that place that you want to be?
Right.
Do you have that thing where you can look ahead 1 year, 5 years, 10 years and say, you know, where am I going to be? Because I think about it in like college. When you think about a college course,
Yes.
it's you look at your curriculum and you're like, all right, my whole semester, my whole year, whatever, this whole class is laid out in front of me.
Yes.
I know that in week 10, I'm going to be doing this. And when you pursue your passions and try to make a career out of it, you don't have that.
Yes.
And that to me was something that was the scariest part,
Right.
and probably one of the things that really hindered me, because I can look at people, you know, like Chris Lord-Alge and, you know, Andrew Sheps and all of these big names who
Right.
are mixing and mastering engineers and see that they did it.
Right.
I know it's possible, right? So I'm thinking, well, you know, at one point they were me and they were starting out,
Exactly.
but what you don't see is the middle.
Right.
Right.
See, the public only sees the outcome. They only see when you're thriving on the other
Yeah.
side.
Right.
No one sees the grind.
Right. And getting that roadmap for the grind makes it way better.
Yes.
Way easier. And I think in some people's minds will completely change their mindset to this is impossible to this is possible.
Right. And that people need to realize that they need to internally create a program for themselves. And,
Yeah.
and
Or physically,
yeah,
write
I was
it
going to
down.
say put it in a
Write it
physical
down.
format. You just what I mean is like take the time,
Right.
sit in a room,
Yeah.
construct a plan.
Right.
And most people don't do that, and that's why you hear like the only example in my brain is that's why you hear people going over in overwhelming numbers to like the gym or something in like
Yeah.
January, and then the drop off
Yeah.
into February is just so drastic. It's because there was no plan.
Yeah.
It was just like I wanted to start something, and I don't know what the next 90 days would even look like.
Right. So you started it, but you fell off.
Yep, because
Right.
there was no goal there,
Yeah.
and the number one thing is to have a goal.
Yeah.
And as long as you're inching closer to that goal, that's enough.
I think relating to the gym is actually a really good thing because so I used to go to the gym a lot with a good friend of mine. And,
Yeah.
and one, I think, as we've talked about in other episodes, community, I had somebody who was there
Yeah.
being my support, helping me out. But two, he was also acting as basically a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Where he was giving me the roadmap. So doing the work yeah, it was physically difficult.
Yes.
I mean, he started throwing me into, the heavy weight, low rep kind of thing, like
Yes.
muscle building stuff. And I mean, that's hard because he's like, by the time you hit 8 reps, you shouldn't be able to hit 9 or whatever it
You're gonna
actually
max out
was.
at whatever it may
maxing
be.
out.
Yeah.
So obviously physically that's extremely taxing. But it was so much easier because you had that roadmap.
Right.
Where he said, today we are coming in and we are doing this, this, and this. Right. And then you have an expectation for yourself.
Absolutely.
And you're like, all right, yeah, I could do that.
Quite literally, I was pretty much in the same predicament. I didn't physically have that person there.
Yeah.
But when the pandemic kind of picked up, I told myself, like, I want a long-term goal of being fit.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I kind of found inspirations and kind of drove myself to find like what their actual plans were.
Yeah.
So I went to like the big guys, like truthfully speaking.
The Rock.
Yeah, like you're like your Arnold Schwarzeneggers, like The Rock and stuff like that. And I'd simply just like Google.
Batista.
Yeah, I would literally look up their workout plans.
Yeah.
and try to formulate something of myself because it gave me structure.
Yeah.
And I'm actually super grateful for all of that at the end of the day because I would literally I was like a train wreck going into the gym for the first couple of times.
I'm gonna bench 450
Because I was essentially I overworked myself.
Okay.
Like drastically.
Yeah.
So when I eventually like over time I realized like, hey, I don't have to be physically exhausted 24/7, and it's probably not healthy for myself. So literally, I'm 2 years in now, and I'm just like, oh wait, I had to go through that in order to understand what actually works for me.
Right.
It was just, but what kept me going was physical plan.
Yeah.
And there's definitely something to be said about that because here I am 2 years later, still trying to stay physically
kicking
active.
it at the gym.
Exactly.
All right. So then let's dive into your producing.
Yes.
Right. Because you obviously have a skill set with this, and you've obviously been doing this like in terms of songwriting,
Right.
For a very long time.
Yeah. My passions are in songwriting. That's I have pretty much determined that is the thing that I appreciate the most about music, is song creation. So like I sat down and had this internal like conversation with myself, and I had to ask myself like, hey, like what do you see yourself doing long term?
Yep.
And my truthful answer to that was like song creation in any format. I don't care whether it be in my own personal musical endeavors, whether it be in someone else's. I just like creating music.
Yeah.
That's my number one thing. So once I was able to answer that, it was more so like, hey, let's create a goal and just construct a little bit of a plan in between.
Yeah.
And that's truthfully that's where you come along, and I'm super grateful to like literally be a part of it. And it just helps me attain that, like get closer to that goal.
Yeah.
Because you and I were able to get in a room together and construct songs.
Plan it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like every song we make is just another piece of that puzzle.
Yeah.
And so what keeps me satisfied and keeps me going is I'm not where I want to be, but I'm happily
process.
driving down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's all about pursuing passion. It's like if you're doing what you love, you never work.
Exactly.
Right? That's the whole.
Yeah, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, that's the whole idea.
And so every time we have a studio day, I'm just like, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I walk in stoked to pull a 10-hour day with you. And and there's something awesome about that. And I just it really, for me personally, and I hope but like the audience would be able to get a little bit out of this. I tried when I was 16, was my first band. Did covers.
Yep.
It lasted about, I would say like 6 months to a year.
Yep.
Before I was just like, this is kind of a bummer.
Yep.
I don't like playing other people's music. I want to do my own thing. Like, yeah.
Side note, you remember our cover band that lasted a week?
I do remember that.
Yup.
Yeah, that was wild.
Anyways, go ahead.
It never became anything. And,
Nope. Nah, because you didn't want to play other people's music.
Yeah. Was it really rooted in that?
Oh, no, I have no idea. No.
Because I could totally see like my 18-year-old self being like, guys, I'm just not vibing this.
No, all of us. Actually, all of us at the time were like, nah, original.
Yeah.
music. We all wanted to do original music, so it lasted like a week.
Yeah.
But anyways, go ahead. Continue.
But yeah, I don't know. I just had this craving of like, I want to start writing songs. I didn't know how to write songs. So, but I certainly, so what I did was
GCD, bro.
pretty much. I mean, I listened at the time. I was super into, pop punk bands were my thing.
Yeah.
And I still are. Don't get me wrong. But I was just really into, like your Green Days, your Blink-182, stuff like that. I was 16 and I was rebellious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I still remember like the first full-fledged song I wrote.
Here we go.
It was the cheesiest thing you can imagine.
Of course. Yeah. I love it.
But there was so much good to come from that because it was just kind of like, oh, sick, I have a song now.
Yeah, I wrote a song.
And it's just the coolest thing ever. And what happens is it gives you that craving to want to keep creating and learning more.
Yeah.
And for my personality type, I mean, I've grown to be a lover of all sorts of music.
Yeah.
I love you despise the fact that there's nothing that I despise.
No, I don't despise it. I dislike that you enjoy Cherry Bomb.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
just that one.
But like exactly. So like being a lover of all forms of music, my playlists are the wildest thing you can imagine.
Yeah.
And
I love
think it's so cool. I'll just jump from like Five Finger Death Punch to Carrie Underwood.
You listen to Five Finger Death
I
Punch?
do. I'm sorry.
Interesting. You know what's funny? I actually never got through a song.
Really?
Yeah, and not because I'm like I will listen to them.
I have everything imaginable on any playlist. So
well, yeah. I mean, I certainly listen to a large amount.
To a ton of music.
A large amount of music, but just like specific bands like that, I don't know.
For some reason, Five Finger Death Punch was the first thing in my mind because I feel like it was like the most like, how do I stand out the most in this sentence right now? It's Five Finger Death Punch.
That's a standout.
Well, I'm trying to get a message across that I listen to literally everything.
Yes.
So what I was able to do is, I'm a runner too. So that's one of
crazy.
That's one of my passions. Literally just chasing the dragon as I'm running. But like, so I have I give myself a lot of, I can't really call it leisure time because it's actual exercise. But I give myself a lot of time to literally have headphones in.
Yeah.
My wife gets mad at me all the time. Gabby gets mad all the time because we'll be home, I'll be blasting whatever in my ear, and she's like, okay, you don't want to talk to me, whatever. And I'm just a lover of music and I love listening to anything. So
AB don't play no games.
Exactly. So I'm able to take bits and pieces of different elements of different genres, and if we have a client that comes in, doesn't matter what genre it is, let's just ballpark everything because
I love it.
That's just the mentality.
Was there a moment for you that switched between? Because I'm probing this question because I believe that there is.
Okay.
But was there a moment for you that it switched between I don't think that this is possible to I'm running full force towards this?
For me, I truly am a firm believer in if you don't quit, the universe kind of just grants you opportunities.
Okay.
So I've never stopped writing songs.
Yeah.
Ever since I started, I haven't stopped. I have so many demos of nonsensical things.
Right.
So many voice memos, whatever. Yeah.
Same.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there just came a turning point where like. Everything just kind of opened up. Opportunities were created for me, and I created some myself.
Right.
Case in point, for example, Fresh Steps, if you will.
Fresh Steps.
Fresh Steps is a fake band that was kind of rude. Yeah.
You just broke the hearts of a couple people that I know.
I know.
Sorry, Drew.
But like it stemmed from hey, I have this song. It was originally a send request demo.
Yep.
And I was just, but Send Request didn't want. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I still got the song. I'm super stoked on it. Let's just ask some friends because you know people, and let's
Yeah.
just make something happen.
Yeah.
And so
That came out super well.
I think that came out awesome. It's one of my favorite things. Yeah.
I love that song. I love that video. Shooting that video. I'm in that video. I'm the bass player.
Yeah, you are the bass player of the non-existent band.
Yeah, I'm the fake bass player, and it was awesome. You know, I did learn the song though.
Yes,
For the video, I wanted to make sure that I was playing it correctly in the video.
and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have cared either way. But you know, I created my own opportunity, and at the same exact time, So Much Hope Buried was kind of fell into my hands as an opportunity.
Yeah.
A lot of songs. Actually, I thought that's a funny side story right there. Our single Rose Eyes is actually, so it was this weird, it's this weird morphed version of a super old Send Request demo.
I love it.
At least the chorus is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely love it.
I remember because Bart and Derek asked me to join, and right off the bat, I was like, "Hey, I have this song. It's not vibing with the pop punk band at all, and I think it might work here."
Yeah.
And it literally turned into
Rose Eyes.
it turned into a melodic hardcore song.
Yeah.
and obviously through So Much Hope, we were able to create just a bunch of different sounds. I think our EP kind of is a really diverse thing, and it kind of it pulls from a bunch of different directions.
Yeah.
And then through So Much Hope, the opportunity was created where I came and started coming into the studio with you,
Producing.
and we have different clients that come in, and we're making anything from pop to metal, and everything in between.
I love it.
Hip-hop,
Industrial rap metal.
Rock, hip hop, whatever it may be.
Yeah. 70s disco.
Exactly.
It was super fun.
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But like the point I'm getting across here is like I never stopped writing songs.
Yeah.
I created opportunities and doors opened, and the whole time, even to this day, I never stopped writing songs.
So what about career-wise though?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm assuming that it is your goal to do producing full-time.
It is.
And to keep music just as a whole full-time.
100%, yes.
Right. So do you think that there was a moment in your brain that switched into like career mode? Because obviously your passion didn't change.
Right.
Your passion is like, I love doing this and I want to do this. And a lot of people have that passion, but I think what's tough is getting it over to the career mode. And just like me, mixing and mastering is a passion, and I absolutely love it, and I would be doing it regardless if I made it a career or not.
Yeah.
But there was a definitive moment in my brain where I was like, I'm going to make this a career.
Yes.
And like I said, in a previous episode, like I quit my job.
Yep.
And it was very stressful.
Yes.
and pretty terrifying.
Right.
And and everyone's at their different levels of that, and hopefully everybody gets to that and much further with their passions.
Right.
But like, do you think there was any definitive moment, or do you think that you just sort of like started falling into it and just kind of realized one day like, oh, this is happening?
Pretty much. I mean, I would say the latter in that sense. I just to be very, very clear with our audience, like I am in the grind. I am right there, and I'm constantly chasing it. I found a little bit of success, if you will, because I went from nothing to something. Yeah. But like I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
Amen, brother.
And I think that's a big message to get across, and people need to understand that like you have to find a way to sustain that process of wanting to constantly be doing more.
Right.
And I think that kind of stems from internal drive. Yeah. And like I said, constantly doing what you're passionate about, and creating goals. So you and I talked before, so like real solid goals. Yep. We don't have a definitive number, but like I think if I set a solid goal of how many songs I would like to achieve over the next year. Yeah. Like that's something that's going to drive me to the next level.
Yeah. I actually am kind of doing that with the solo, with my own solo stuff.
Right.
Like I don't have any solo stuff out at this particular time of recording. But with the new studio that we're building and whatnot, I certainly wanted to focus a little more on solo stuff. And I think if my timeline is correct and I can finish the studio when I want to,
Right.
I want at least 1 to 2 solo songs out
Yes.
on Spotify,
Yes.
Apple, whatever, by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is like kind of that tangible goal that I can look at that and be like, all right, like
Exactly.
I've got, I've got this thing, and you will be producing it whether you want to or not, because I'm forcing you to.
I would love to be a part of it, even though you already knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like that I think is yet like another passion. I even think like this podcast is like, it's kind of a passion.
Yeah.
Like as we sort of talked about it, and maybe
100%.
it's a newer found passion, but you and I, we even started this just because of the fact that we had conversations that we were like, these are awesome conversations, and we hope to bring that to other people.
Right.
Yeah,
No, this stemmed from you and I just hanging out and having really long conversation, and then one day you were just like, we should probably like just put mics in front of our faces,
Let's
because
do a
this
podcast.
could be something. You never know.
And within the short amount of time that we started this, I found so much fun
Yeah.
in like doing these things, and it like gives me something to sort of drive towards.
Same here.
And
It
like
feels
pursue
like
yet another passion.
Yeah, it feels like there's a goal here, and the goal here is to reach the largest audience that we can, and
Yeah.
we're having fun in the grind,
Yeah.
which is literally this in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I guess the moral of this episode is your passions, no matter what they be, I think can end up being your career. It could be something that you love, and it doesn't have to be something where you're miserable going to a job, that you don't like,
Yes.
or doing something you don't like. I always feel like, the studio is my full time, and when I'm working, I don't feel like I'm working,
Right.
because it's a joy. And not to downplay some of the very difficult things to deal with.
I think even if you love it, like occasionally there's going to be rough times, but because you tell yourself you love it, and that drives you.
Right.
Drives you through those rough times, and you realize they're not as bad as the alternative.
Yeah. Right. And it's possible. It is possible. Word. So pursue your dreams.
See your dreams, and as cheesy as it sounds, don't give up.
Yeah.
I mean it.
Absolutely.